welcome back to another Threat Snapshot, where we break down threats and show you how to detect them. I'm AJ, and today we're digging into Mandiant's 2024 Trends Report. Let's break it down. All right, so today we're diving into the 2024 Trends Report. You can head over to their website to fill out the form and download it. Provide a link in the description. I'll quickly run through here. We'll touch on a few metrics, and then we'll jump into the platform, and I'll show you how to operationalize a report like this. Starting out, you'll see there's a lot of numbers on dwell time. Some good news, right? From 2022, 16 days was the medium dwell time, and now in 2023, it was 10 days. So some improvement there. If we go down, we'll see more with the changing global investigations involving ransomware. You'll see that going up to 23%. And ransomware is just, you're seeing that everywhere all the time. There's just news articles constantly of someone getting ransomwared, which, could push the dwell time down, I guess, because the ransomware notifications are notifying people sooner. But anyway, so lots of good information in here. I like reading these reports and getting this data, but the further you go down, the more specific it'll get and easier to operationalize here. So down, it'll just show you the top industries being targeted, and as expected, right, financials at the top. Down here, you'll see the initial vectors, so exploits. You're probably noticed a lot of CVEs coming out in 2023, a lot of things happening with edge devices. Attackers are seeming to target devices that are less likely monitored, like firewalls, ESXi, different types of external facing systems that probably don't have the normal endpoint logging enabled or EDRs on them and whatnot. 17% phishing, 15% compromise, and so on. Most frequently seen vulnerabilities, we see the move it transfer was the top, followed by Oracle Web Applications, the CVE 2022-21587, and then followed by the Barracuda CVE. The interesting part, once we get down here, we'll see some information where it starts getting, again, a little more specific. Start talking about, let's dig into it, 33% backdoors were newly tracked, and 16% downloaded, 15% droppers. And then a little bit further down, we'll start getting into some specifics. So you'll notice the mention of Alpha V and Lockbit. We're seeing Beacon being the number one seen family, even though it is at its all-time low of being used, but it's still to the top dog at this point. But attackers do seem to be pivoting to try and be more stealthy. And yeah, Beacon's not overly stealthy. So you'll see all these lots of things listed here. And we can take this information, pivot into the platform, and we've created a collection that actually breaks down. We tried to put some of the highest quality content into the collection for the trend report. And this will show you, some intelligence, which is basically RSS feeds. That gives us some articles that you can click through, see information, it's linked to different information in the platform. And then we have threats, detections, attack scripts. So threats are basically a way of creating the attack activity in the platform so that detections can be validated against them. Then we have the detections, which are obvious, right? They're detecting the threats. And the attack scripts, which allow you to test the activity in your environment. So you can take a detection and deploy it, but how do you know if it's going to actually work in your environment? That's where the attack scripts come in. If you deploy a rule and then you run an attack script in your environment and the rule triggers, you can be pretty confident that rule is going to work if that attack happens in your environment. So a cool thing in our platform, you can go in and say you read the trends and you're like, oh, I want to do some hunting, but I'm not really sure what to do. You could come in here and just go straight to the Mandiant trends, click on detections, and you could do a full hunt across all these detections in your platform. And that will basically take all 200 plus detections, hunt them. I'll just pre-open it here. So hunt them in your environment and then return results of how many hits you have for all these different detections. So in this instance, we had 243 detections hunted in Chronicle, 185 hits. And so you can see local accounts discovery had 103 hits and whatnot. This is an interesting way to do a quick triage or a hunt in your environment without having to open up a bunch of windows and jump between different tool sets. You can go to the workbench, and this actually just brings all that data from the hunt into an open search area for you to dice it up and kind of investigate. On the left side, you could click right into a specific rule, and it will filter this search down to only show the hits for that rule. And then you can go in and look at the parsed fields and chop it up and try and understand this better. And then maybe pivot to a more specific hunt in the actual sim or however you want to do that. But this is a really nice way to do quick hunts and triage your environment for different threats. Now, the same thing, we have the collection for the Trends Report, but you can also get more specific, right? If you want to jump directly into Move It and focus on that, if you go to Move It in our platform, you'll see it shows an alias of all the different CVEs here, because Move It is several different CVEs, and this page will show you that. So you can click directly into the CVE they mentioned, and that will open up this landing page here. Once you're on this page, you can do the same thing from the other one, right? You can come in here, you can go to detections, you can do hunts, you can go to the attack scripts. And if you have an agent, we have a validation agent you can install on a lab system in your environment to run the attack script against. Or if you have Mandiant MSV, we also support that. So you could pivot from our platform to MSV to launch those attack scripts in your environment. So again, I ran the hunt against those 10 detections. Same thing, right? It gives us the information back. And now I can look and see what's been detected and dig through this log data. We have landing pages for, pretty much everything you're going to see in that report. You'll see a landing page for, right? Beacons, liver, brute retel, and so on and so on. Another nice thing is you'll see the list of MITRE attack techniques. And a lot of times when you see those, they're helpful, but they're somewhat not super specific, right? So it's command and scripting interpreter. That could be a lot of stuff. So it's really nice to be able to jump into our platform, open up that landing page, and have all this information pre-curated for you to work with. So that's something that just makes your job as a threat hunter or detection engineer a lot easier to jump in here and do that. Now, a really cool thing in the platform, we touched on it before a little bit, but the threats. The threats are really powerful because you can come into our platform and use a sandbox to create a threat session. So basically it pulls up a VM, uses our SnapAttack tool to capture the log data required and the videos and all that stuff. And then you import it into the platform to actually create this threat session. You can also do this in your own lab. You can get our SnapAttack tool to just put into your own lab to get this data. But basically what this does is this allows us to have a large data set of attack logs. And that data is constantly testing all of our detections. So all our detections are running against this attack data so that we can get information. Like, for example, here's detection, right? It's showing it's validated. So I know I'm 100% certain that this detection will detect the activity because we have the attack data and it's testing it against that. So if you come in here and you see this detection and you see that it's validated, you can feel confident that it will detect the threat. Now, this is where the attack scripts come in. Once you deploy this into your environment, you're going to want to run an attack script to make sure that it works in your environment because every environment's different. You might have different field mappings. You might have a different layout. So making sure that when you're deploying these things, the way they're being translated, the way that it's being put in your environment is actually going to function. It's very important to run those attack scripts to ensure that. Otherwise, there might be some small thing. You might have one field mapping differently and then it's not detecting because it translates, assuming that you're using a certain field mapping. The nice thing here, which is these threat sessions, you can come in here and you can look at things like process graph. And I really like the process graph view. With process graph, it allows us to see what happened on the box from a process perspective, right? So I can come in here, expand these out, And that red star shows that when this was created, this was marked as a malicious log, right? So then when the algorithm's trying to test out the detections, it knows where the actual activity, the bad activity was. So the closer the detection was to that bad activity, the more likely it was a good detection and not a false positive. So just for the sake of this demonstration here, say we click on this and we want to create a detection on this log source. So I can just click this button. It pivots me over to our detection IDE, and it gives us the log right next to the builder. So that makes it very nice so that you're not having to click back and forth or like have it next to you on another screen. You can just look at it directly and say, okay, how would I detect this? So in this example, we'll just make it simple, but you could do, let's see, we could do, say, parent command line. So that pops it up here. I just clicked on it. Auto pops it up on the side. And in this instance, I would say this is probably suspicious, right? So let's take this, pop that in there. We'll say parent command line contains move it DMZ pool. Okay. And then something else I would say that you'd probably want to put in here is parent process name. Let's do that. Parent process name is w3wp.exe. All right, so we'll just take it at that. Very simple rule. It translates it to a Splunk detection here, but you could pivot it to different things like Chronicle or whatever you have in your environment. And now you can go over, you could see the details, fill out the title, description, MITRE techniques, like as much information as you can put in is always helpful. You could even just modify the specific YAML if you wanted to. And then once you save and publish this rule, like I showed before, it would look something like this, right? It would be a detection with all the information in here, and you could easily deploy this in one click. So Chronicle, say I want to deploy that, I just click this, one click, deploy, and it pops that in my Chronicle environment, and now it's running and protecting me real time. If I wanted to hunt it in my environment, I just come in here, click hunt, and you can go through and choose your environment that you want to hunt in. If you have multiple integrations, you can hunt across multiple integrations. So if you have an EDR, SIM, multiple areas, you can check all those, run the hunt, and get that information back in real time. So it's just super helpful. It really expedites the process of finding content and quickly operationalizing it in your environment. So highly recommend playing around with this. If you're a subscriber, you'll have access to the attack scripts and everything. If you create a community account, there's still tons of community content. I mean, even, let's see, if we go back to the M trends, and I filter this down here, we could see that there is a lot of community content. So this is excluding all subscriber content. You still get a lot of community content in here that you have access to. You won't have the integrations without being a subscriber, but you can still come in here, see this content, copy and paste it out and use it if you want. So I highly recommend coming into the platform, playing around as a community user. Reach out to us. We're always happy to answer questions, but the platform really provides a lot of powerful tools and ways to operationalize these big threats or threat reports that come out. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, please comment on the video, and I'll read all the comments and reply when I see them. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications, and we'll make another video soon.